So, Michael, it's so wonderful to have you with us. Thank you so much for agreeing to let us profile Big Spaceship.
Thanks for having us. We're really excited about it.
You must be a proud papa.
I am, yes, in multiple ways.
Right.
A real papa and papa to this thing, if that's what it is.
Exactly. Well, we were talking going all the way back to your childhood and your parents and their vocations, and I thought that was actually kind of interesting. Do you want to talk about that a bit?
Sure, yeah. I thought it was interesting too because I'd never really put it in the same context that you spoke about it, but I definitely come from a background of writers and storytellers. My father was an English professor and a novelist and taught fiction writing as well as American modernist fiction, and my mom was a poet and does editing and manuscript development. The through line is really storytelling and narrative. I translated that into film when I went to college, and I did film there. And then when this industry started to emerge, I became very quickly fascinated with it and threw myself in. And I think there's a lot of interesting overlaps there.
Well, I think there's a huge transformation going on because video is so much more approachable and accessible to so many more people. And so in the past, really the only way to tell stories was through writing. And so this is the new media of storytelling, and you're right at the forefront of it.
I tell people on the team a lot when they get frustrated with the world not moving as quickly as they want to move, that it's the price that you pay for getting to be out on the very edge of something brand new, and you wouldn't have it any other way. And that's what I have to keep telling myself. Sometimes I just want to move so fast, and but we're getting to, in our own small way, help to find something brand new.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's really, that's tremendously exciting to be a part of.
Definitely. So you are now a business owner. That must be a very huge transition from being a film student, and I'd love to hear a little bit about that journey for you.
It's a strange thing because I never expected to be here. I think I was probably entrepreneurial in some sense or another, but I didn't really know it or hadn't really tapped into it. But I think that the transition from film into the world of digital stuff, the interactive world, was, a lot of it was really just the necessity of not wanting to be a starving artist. Film at the time, I was the very last class that did the stuff, did all the production work in film without Avid, without anything nonlinear, and wow. So I was chopping up 16mm reversal and searching for little 2 frames that I lost 17 hours ago in the editing bay, falling asleep, and I actually really enjoyed that. I loved the sort of I loved it being so tactile and also being very technical in a way. But the reality was that in school, I paid $100 a semester to shoot all the film I wanted, and it was this incredible luxury. And then leaving, my options were, to polish lenses for free, or hustle 98% of the time to maybe get to do what I really wanted to do 2% of the time. And I didn't really like the balance for me. It wasn't effective, and I don't think that I didn't have the necessary momentum behind film specifically. Mm-hmm. So when I started to see this digital industry emerging, and I was living on the West Coast for a year, and my friends were calling me and saying, "We're actually making really good money now," and I was like, "Oh well, I've been playing with Mac since the 512 came out. I've always been incredibly comfortable. I played with desktop publishing applications just for my own fun and doing my resume and things like that, and I was like, I can figure this stuff out." And I swallowed my pride, and I moved in with my mom and took an unpaid internship and learned absolutely everything I could.
Who did you have the internship with?
With a funny little company in Boston called Stump World Systems. The office was based in a house where a bunch of the owners of the company lived. So I would dutifully show up on time every day, and really, really happy to be there, and somebody would stroll down with a cigarette and a coffee in their robe and kind of put the coffee on top of their monitor and get ready to type. And I found them through a connection, but I didn't really seek out the right place to get the internship. It was like, okay, I can get one near home and live for free for a little while. And but they did entertainment work, strangely, and they did a lot of sites for major bands. They did Aerosmith.com and Fish.com and things like that. So I got to start playing with that, and that's when I discovered Flash. I was learning the real basics, old school, 2 and 3.0 browser, HTML, and basics, graphic optimization. Debabbilizer was my friend back then.
Yeah, I remember Debabbilizer.
Great application.
Yeah,
the worst
still
user
around,
interface
actually.
I've ever seen, and I loved it. And I saw, actually it was the Power Computing website, when the horrible era where the Mac tried to license the OS, and Power Computing had a Flash intro. It's big words shooting at you, fight back for the Mac.
I remember
and
that.
I saw it and I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. How did they do it? And I told everybody at work, I said, I'm going to figure out how to do that by the end of the weekend. And they had one license of Flash kicking around or something. And, and by the end of the weekend, I came in and I had done, fight back for Mike or something like that.
Right.
And they were all like, wow, how'd you do it? And I just started playing, and that was Flash 2. I mean, that must have been the first version after Future Splash. And that's sort of how it all
That's fantastic.
formed.
That's a really inspiring story. I think a lot of our members will be very inspired by that, because everybody has to get up with the with the digital age, and a lot of us are too old to have been born into it, right?
Yeah.
So
very much, including me. I mean, it's
sounds like it.
We had a good conversation the other day. I was asked to write an article about a kind of a complex subject about how advertising and marketing is shifting in the marketplace due to digital, and so I wanted to just talk to, as I often do, just sort of talk to people on the team and just see what they thought. And I realized at one point we were talking about sort of who was born digital and who wasn't, and I realized that in the room we had somebody who I said to each person, how old were you when you first used a browser? And it was I was whatever, 20, 21, and the next person in line 17, 18, and then we get to the last person, I was 5. And I was like, there is a fundamental difference between that person and me. Even though we're all coexisting in this one environment, we're all producing the same work, there's a fundamental difference in the sort of native understanding of having that sort of that control over your information, over your environment, over your entertainment.
Well, this has been a recurring conversation that I've had with a lot of the people I've been interviewing in this series, is just what are the timeless principles that you learned in film school, and you may have a different advantage over those who were born digital. And I think there is this necessary merging of the two worlds, that people can get so involved with just the straight technology and not think about the story, or the film grammar, or some of the really important types of principles that you would learn in film school.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, one of the things I find myself saying over and over, year after year, with teams is not to always think of everything as a tween. That you don't have to always show how something gets from here to here to have to create a compelling story. It's look at editing techniques. You look at the really early pioneers of these things, where they're putting disparate footage together to create a story, and the juxtaposition of unrelated images to create meaning. And that, I think that's actually something that digital still needs to adapt to a little bit more. We see a lot of, now we can put our films online, and that's coming from one direction, and then from another direction you've got the sort of motion graphics world where everything can fly freely wherever you want it to go, but maybe a little less fundamentals in storytelling. And I think where we sit, or try to sit, is that place in between, where we really want to be able to tell a story, but be incredibly true and authentic to the medium we're telling it in.
You still seem so passionate and engaged. Do you ever see yourself transitioning out of what you're doing now, or what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Well, I mean, I love to come to work every day. I mean, the whole company is it's not founded, as many companies are, with a huge profit motive. I mean, it's great to make money, and I hope that we do and continue to do that, but I've been at places you just don't want to be. And I've seen the difference in the quality of output. And if you're not sort of passionate about what you're doing, find something you are passionate about doing and do it.
Are there some things that you haven't done that you want to do?
I'm getting to do a lot of things that I really am excited about. I get to go out and speak to people, and that's really, really fun. Doing something like this is incredibly exciting for me, although a little weird because I always fancied myself a behind-the-camera person, and it's weird to sort of suddenly be in front. But I got to teach a seminar for a few years, just a couple of days in Rome through a German film school. It's all taught by visiting professionals, and they asked us to do sort of digital marketing for films, which is where we sort of grew up in this business, and I loved it. And I did it for a few years, and I haven't done it in a couple, and I miss it. I really enjoy the teaching side of it, and so I think that that's something I maybe could transition into in the longer term future. But for now, I'm really, really happy with what we're doing. It's still a very exciting place to be.
It really is, and I'm so grateful to you for sharing yourself and letting us peek behind the scenes here, and also sharing some of the thoughtful ideas that you shared with us just now. I think they're going to be very meaningful to people, and it's just great. We applaud your generosity, and thank you for being part of this.
It's my absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Michael.